Hello, I'm Kamala Rampasad de Silva. Welcome to 50 and Fabulous. Today, I wanted to talk about a very serious issue, and therefore the video may be a little bit long, more than 5 minutes, but I hope you would find it interesting and that you would stay tuned until the very end. More so, that you will comment and let me know what your thoughts are. Today, I wanted to talk about the whole issue of a marriage and unhappiness in marriage. Very often, our relationships don't work out the way we anticipated. Many of us enter with rose tinted glasses and believe that the other party is going to love us forever. More so, that they will in fact be the perfect individual that we expect them to be in our minds. I was fortunate during my years in law school to have had persons bring reality into the discussions for us. And in particular, I recall there was a time in Trinidad and Tobago when there seemed to have been an increase in the spate of domestic violence, when within a week or two, several women had been killed by their spouses in domestic violence situations. I recall having a group discussion with my classmates, and one of my friends was a police officer. He described the scenario where sometimes, as policemen, they seek to intervene in domestic violence situations. And he said he found that it was the look in the eyes of the men in particular, where they seem to feel trapped in very hopeless situations, trapped maybe because of financial circumstances, trapped maybe because they feel that their wives no longer love them, or they themselves feel that they have failed in some way in what they intended their marriage life to be like. That feeling of being trapped, he said, is what made him think that men resorted to violence. And so he made a suggestion which I thought was a very good idea. Basically, he said, as a police officer, his view was that persons should begin to look at marriage as a contract. So you don't sign up till death do us part, but rather every year on your wedding anniversary, ask yourself, is this where I want to be? Is this the person I want to be with? And therefore, do I want to stay in this marriage for another year? A lot of you may disagree with that concept. We love the notion of a marriage where you commit to the rest of your life, where you feel that you're providing stability for your family members. I believe, however, that there's tremendous merit in looking at life in that respect. And I applied it in my own marriage, and I would say it was successful in managing my own mindset. When I got married to Earl, I knew that he was someone, let me say, he was a womanizer. I knew of relationships he had that he tried to keep from me, but which I found out about in different ways. And so I knew that he wasn't a faithful person. Therefore, going into the marriage, I did so with my eyes wide open, not expecting that that would change. Therefore, I knew it was not going to be a fairy tale marriage. But I did love him. I did want to marry him. And I did want to start a family. Therefore, I went in knowing that if I had children, I will have this responsibility to ensure that they have a stable and safe family home. As a result, I did everything in my power to help ensure that there was, in fact, happiness in the home. But what helped me a lot was the mindset which said, this would work only so long as I feel that it is making sense that the children are happy and stable, and that in fact we have a good family life. So I created that whole notion of the marriage is not forever. The marriage would last only so long as we both want to be married to each other. So, as a matter of fact, on my wedding night, I said to Earl, it's possible the marriage will not last a year. Therefore, let's agree immediately on how we will separate things so we can part ways amicably. He was astonished because, of course, in his mind, like I guess most men, women want to be married, they want to be stable, they want to feel that their husband would love them forever. But I knew better than to have that kind of fantasy because of the experiences I had had with him. Therefore, I made sure that I set the tone from day one. And beneath all of it, I knew that I wanted to ensure I had a stable and sustainable marriage so that my children will be safe. But it was important to let him know that he was not trapped in a situation where this is his life for the rest of his life. He had been married before. The relationship had ended after a few years. He had entered into another relationship which had not lasted many years as well. And therefore, I felt he did not have a good track record. And that it didn't have to be the other woman. It could simply have been him. That he was not someone who was capable of commitment. So I let him know very early, you don't have to be here if you don't wish to be here. And I think for a lot of women, if you can develop that mindset to allow you to know, especially because women today have their own jobs, they can be independent, they can take charge of their own destiny. Therefore, make it your business to assert your independence. Allow persons who may not be happy for whatever reason, allow them to make the choice whether they want to be in that relationship or not. I think it made a huge difference for Earl that he had a choice, and as a result, he stayed married for 21 years. That was definitely a major achievement for him. We never, either of us, thought that we would have been married for 21 years. So I just wanted to share that experience with you because of the situation that we saw in Trinidad and Tobago recently, where another young woman lost her life to domestic violence. This is not just existing here in Trinidad. In so many countries, there are issues of domestic violence. And as women, it is important for us to try and take charge of our lives. It is important for us to determine our own destiny. And only we can determine how we feel and make the choices in terms of how we live. And similarly, we need to know and accept that our husband is not under our control. That in fact, it is important to also allow them to make a choice. And the most you can do is possibly be the best wife you can be so that your husband makes the choice that he wants to be married to you. And if you are the best person you can be, and if it is that your husband is unhappy and wants to go, then you should let him. You should look at your marriage and you should determine if he is unhappy, chances are you wouldn't be happy either. So, and life is about change. The wonderful thing about living into 21st century is that we have choices. So many more choices than would have applied 2 generations ago. I would say even 1 generation ago. I remember as a young girl growing up, the idea of someone being unhappy in their marriage and leaving their matrimonial home and returning to their parents' house. That used to happen a lot in Trinidad. But there always was the concept, yes, you can return to your parents' home, but that's just a few days because you must always go back to your husband. Thankfully, that thinking has changed. We need to take charge of our own lives. We need to look at our marriage not as a death sentence, but rather a contract which is capable of renewal. So, for every anniversary, you decide, are you happy? Is the marriage working? And make it a day of reflection where both you and your spouse make that decision as to whether you're going to commit to each other for another year. I feel fabulous having done that, having lived a rich, full life where today I am capable of looking back without regrets. This is 50 and Fabulous. Take care. Bye.